What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to jump in and take a look at some of the Iron Banner weapons in Destiny 2. Kinda gonna do a bit of a top 5 here first, but I also wanted to touch on most of the weapons from Iron Banner, give some impressions of them, and let you guys know which ones I think are worth looking out for. So first up, I wanted to point out the hand cannon. We have the Steady Hand. This is an aggressive frame hand cannon, high damage, high recoil. We've got True Sight as well as Hit Mark and Crossfire HCS. Up next, Flared Magwell, optimized for fast reloading. We've got Alloy Magazine for faster reloads when the mag is empty. And finally, Outlaw as the trait, precision kills greatly decrease reload time. So of course, being aggressive frame for a hand cannon, that means 110 rounds per minute. It is the highest impact class of hand cannon, slowest rate of fire. In general, this hand cannon actually feels pretty good to use. Most notably, it's very consistent from my experience. It feels like it hits its shots really clean, and it feels like it connects more and screws you over just a little bit less than some of the other hand cannons in the game. With this archetype, you're looking at the real low end of the aim assist front, so you get like 45 points of aim assist with this thing versus 75 points on the better Devils, yet honestly, it doesn't feel that noticeable, to me at least. You do have incredibly high range at 67 points on this weapon, so perhaps that's contributing to consistency across the board, as well as the reduced damage drop-off at longer medium ranges. Of course, range was a really big deal to hand cannons in Destiny 1. I haven't done a whole bunch of testing on that, but it seems to make a difference. This thing definitely competes better at distance in general than most other hand cannons. The archetype is also pretty competitive in terms of time to kill, which perhaps isn't the first thing you think when you look at the stats, but of course this feels crispy as hell with Outlaw bumping up those reload speeds following a precision kill. Despite everything good about this weapon though, of course the archetype is very punishing because if you miss a shot, you're pretty much done, and in the game right now, it's all about high cal, high flinch weapons, autos and scouts, and that's where Steady Hand really suffers because you're gonna have to work really hard to win your engagements and you will be at a disadvantage. Yet, if you want a challenge, or you're a big fan of this archetype in PvP, then this is one that you don't want to miss. Versus True Prophecy from FWC, you have mostly improved stats for PvP, faster reload potential, more aim assist, and none of that weird explosive payload stuff, which doesn't really help with range and damage in the way that explosive rounds does. So essentially, this is one of the best in class for this archetype, and I feel like really it deserves some love for that reason. Up next, we have the Pulse Rifle, the Time-Worn SPIRE. This is a rapid-fire frame weapon, so it's 540 rounds per minute, the low-impact class of pulse rifles. We've got Hitmark IS, as well as Red Dot Micro and Rifle Scope SSF. And then we have Tactical Mag. The weapon has multiple tactical improvements, so it bumps up stability, reload speed, and your magazine size. Versus Accurized rounds, the weapon can fire longer distances, which will also drop your mag size to 36 rounds. We've got Zen Moment, though, causing damage with this weapon increases its stability. Now this weapon really shreds in PvP. If you land those shots, the class of weapon in general is very strong right now, has a fast time to kill and all of that stuff. There aren't many of this archetype of pulse rifle in the game right now. The most notable weapon in this class would of course be the Lincoln Green, which is once again pretty strong. In comparison though, Time-Worn SPIRE can beat Lincoln Green on more or less every stat with the exception of handling by literally just a couple of points. Lincoln Green does have the option of steady rounds though, so you can get a slight edge in terms of stability and accuracy, but Zen Moment on the SPIRE will really help on that front, increasing stability for the weapon once it starts to damage a target. Obviously this is a fast firing class of weapon, so it kicks pretty hard, but really your first burst accuracy is about as important as your last, so Zen Moment helping on that front is certainly nice, especially if you're taking fire and fighting against screen shake and things like that. Something else I like with the Time-Worn SPIRE is the increased mag size to 40 rounds with Tactical Mag. Again, I'm comparing to Lincoln Green so much because there are very few alternatives, and I personally think this is a really great class of weapon. It's not a long range weapon, and you'll see damage drop off quite a lot, but the range stat of 42 will minimize that drop off about as well as you'll see on any of the mid or high rate of fire pulses. An issue is that the dominant engagement distance for this weapon is exactly the same as auto rifles right now, so auto rifles are certainly the main contender against this weapon. Nonetheless, if you're looking for an equivalent to the Grasp of Malak or Clever Dragon in Destiny 2, this is essentially it. I can't promise that it'll do anywhere near as well as the Clever Dragon from Destiny 1 in its heyday, but it's about as close as you'll get for now. Let's also touch on the forward path, the auto rifle. So this is an adaptive frame weapon, which makes it a 600 rounds per minute weapon. We've got Red Dot 2 MOA as well as Red Dot Micro and Rifle Scope SSF. We have armor piercing rounds. Rounds cause extra damage to combatant shields and over-penetrate targets, which does bump up your range a little bit. We also have extended mag. The weapon has a greatly increased magazine size but reloads slower. And finally, tap the trigger grants a short period of increased stability and accuracy on the initial trigger pull. So this auto rifle, honestly, it's good, but it's nothing really special, and my main reason for saying that is that auto rifles right now are all pretty damn good on the most part. Forward path is similar to Scathelock in the same archetype, but it has a couple more points stability, a chunk more handling, and a couple more points of reload speed and aim assist. For me personally, I think Scathelock is ever so slightly better, and the main reason for that would be high caliber rounds. It just feels like it's doing something more. That is more of a feel thing for me though, honestly, and considering how close they are, plus the fact that this is a kinetic primary in the 600 rate of fire class, it's got a fair amount going for it. If you like the Scathelock a lot and want a different model of auto rifle, obviously this one's much more like the Vanguard grade of weapons, so you do really have the option between these two weapons depending on your preference. The weapon has a noticeable kick to it, so tap the trigger is going to be useful, just helping you land those first few shots, and of course the weapon settles into a firing pattern. You can control that recoil as you go. Armor piercing rounds is a decent bonus, especially for PvE, and you can also opt for extended mag if you prefer, and that's really it. It's a good auto rifle in a game filled with good and very good auto rifles. There isn't much more I can say, other than that it's one of the good Iron Banner weapons for sure. Next we have the WIZENED Rebuke. This is a high impact frame fusion rifle, so it's 900 in terms of charge time, maximum impact on this weapon. We've got clean shot IS, Red Dot 2 MOA and Red Dot Micro, and then we have liquid coils, slower build charge time for higher damage, or enhanced battery which increases your mag size. We have backup plan, grants reduced charge time and increased handling for a short time immediately after swapping to this weapon. So with this fusion rifle you get 100 impact points. It hits like a truck if you run liquid coils. In terms of handling, it's okay. It kicks sideways a bit, so you really have to kind of pull back on your analog stick to help group those projectiles up and make sure they hit the target. Overall, there's nothing wrong with how this weapon feels. It does great damage, obviously. The one issue I have though with fusion rifles is main ingredient. Why is main ingredient so much better than everything else? I mean, it's lower impact than the Rebuke by 20 points, yet it has more range, which is a little bit confusing considering it seems to have really sticky projectiles too. Honestly, I feel like main ingredient is better than everything, and Bungie should look to put all fusions into a similar place. Let's get back on the topic though. WIZENED Rebuke basically has a Plan C type bonus where your charge times are reduced and handling speed is increased as soon as you switch to the weapon. Now this is a solid bonus when you switch, obviously. You get a pretty fast charge time and you can get that shot off much easier. I do however feel like the perk is, or was, referring to Plan C once again, a much better bonus when we had special ammo all of the time. I feel like right now most players avoid switching to the primary once they have power ammo unless they really have to, because nobody wants to lose that ammo, you know, when you have the advantage. Generally, players are going to push for that opportunity with the power weapon instead of carrying the ammo around and trying to go on a huge kill spree. Of course, that's entirely possible, but you probably get what I'm saying. Otherwise though, it's a good bonus to have for sure, and considering there are very few max impact fusions, especially with a bonus like this, considering it takes a long time to charge up, it makes this one somewhat unique and definitely worth going for if you're a fan of fusion rifles. Now we have the Hero's Burden. This is an adaptive frame SMG, so 900 rounds per minute. We've got SLO-10 post, as well as SPO-28 front and SPO-26 front. We have high caliber rounds, which is very, very strong, as well as drop mag. The magazine drops on reload, wasting ammo, but greatly increasing reload speed. And we have threat detector, increased reload, stability, and handling when enemies are in close proximity. Now, in the Crucible, this is a very good SMG. Across the board, it has pretty good stats, stats, generally having more of every stat than the other SMGs from Suros, with the exception of stability, which Hero's Burden does have a few less points than the other Suros models in general. On the plus side though, it has a pinch more aim assist and pretty good recoil direction, which means you'll have to work less hard controlling this than some of the other SMGs. The perks are very important here though. High caliber rounds is most effective on high rate of fire weapons, essentially increasing flinch on what are already some of the more obnoxious weapons in the game in terms of screen shake. Also you have threat detector, which bumps up your stability and handling as well as reload speed when enemies are in close proximity. Naturally, you only want to deal with enemies in close proximity anyway, so threat detector is more or less working all of the time when you're in SMG range. Now this combination of high cal with threat detector and decent range on the weapon makes it simply brutal in PvP. It's also worth noting that the difference between crits and non-crits on this weapon is much more minimal than you'll see on some of the other archetypes in the game, so you can pretty much just body shot people with these SMGs and still come out on top in a lot of situations. I think this is easily my favourite Suros SMG right now. The only downside for me is the 33 rounds in the mag. You're going to be reloading a lot and you're not going to be able to benefit from pre-firing as much as you would with other weapons, but otherwise you certainly have the best Suros SMG in my opinion, and I think Mida Mini Tool is about the only other energy SMG that I would maybe pick before this one. It's very good if you ask me. So those are the core weapons I really wanted to take a look at. There is one I need to mention though. The Fool's Remedy, which is the sidearm for Iron Banner, is another Suros model weapon, and it's actually pretty solid. So it is a Suros rapid fire weapon. That means it's 450 rounds per minute. You've got Control SAS, Tactic SAS, and Farpoint SAS for the sights. You have ricochet rounds or accurized rounds, and then also moving target, increased movement speed, and target acquisition when moving while aiming down sights. Now if you pair that with ricochet rounds, you know, it's going to increase your stability and slightly bump up your range, so a couple of stats being benefited at the same time. Increased movement speed is pretty good. It's going to allow you to strafe a little bit more while you're actually firing the weapon. Also target acquisition boost is always nice when you're actually aiming at someone. I have to say I am not the biggest fan of these Suros sidearms in general, but of the Suros sidearms that we currently have in the game, this is probably about the best one you could really use in the Crucible. I haven't actually had this one dropped, but looking at the stats, looking at the perks, it is in a pretty good place. Obviously you have other sidearms like the Last Hope right now, which are really popular and kind of overshadow this thing, and if they end up changing how powerful Last Hope is or anything like that, this could be kind of next in line in terms of what is really good in the Crucible as far as sidearms go. So definitely one to hold on to if you ask me. Outside of the weapons we've looked at though, you of course have the Scout Rifle as well as the Grenade Launcher. The Scout Rifle is a high impact scout, so it fires slowly, does high damage. This archetype just doesn't feel that good inside of Destiny 2. I feel like the 180 round per minute Scout Rifles are a much better option, and then of course you have things like the Mida as well. The archetype for the Iron Banner Scout Rifle is pretty much what lets it down. There's also the Grenade Launcher as well, but it's kind of a similar situation. Grenade launchers just aren't that fantastic in the game. It does have a bonus that does more damage if you get direct hits with the grenade, but I feel like versus rockets or even just throwing on any other type of power weapon in the Crucible, it's just not that good. Of course you guys may feel differently and you'll have to let me know in the comment section. If you have enjoyed this video though, a like is very much appreciated guys. If you want a chance to win a Confluence of Light, which is the Destiny 2 Gamescom emblem, then me and my friend Holotide are doing a giveaway, which you can check out in the link in the description if you're interested. For now though, like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. But for now, I hope you guys have an awesome day.